Part 1. The Departure. Arya Stark stood on the deck of her ship, staring out at the open sea. Westeros was far behind her now, and ahead was the unfamiliar horizon. It had been a long road to this moment, but the truth she sought had always eluded her. The truth about Syrio Forel, the man who had taught her how to fight with water dance, who had defended her with honor in King's Landing, had disappeared without a trace. Was he truly dead, or had he somehow escaped his fate? Arya needed answers, and so she set sail, following the whispers of the Faceless Men and the fragmented memories of her childhood. Captain, gruff, looking over his shoulder, "Don't know why you're so bent on finding an old man. What if he's long gone, girl? What if you're chasing ghosts?" Arya, narrowing her eyes. "He didn't die. Not the way they say. I'm not chasing ghosts. I'm searching for the truth." As Arya sailed further away from the shores of Westeros, she thought of the many times she had trained with Syrio in King's Landing. His lessons weren't just about swordsmanship. They were about mind and will, but there was one lesson she had never fully understood: the skill of the Faceless Men. Arya already knew how to change faces, a lesson she learned in Braavos. But what if Syrio was more connected to the Faceless Men than she had ever known? Days pass, and as Arya sails closer to an unmapped island, a place rumored to be home to the Faceless Men, she begins to see signs that Syrio may have left traces of himself here. The ship docks on the island, and Arya finds a series of ancient symbols carved into the stone walls of an old temple. These symbols resemble the markings of the Faceless Men, and they seem to match the tattoos of those she met during her time in Braavos. Arya, whispering to herself, could he have been here? Could this be where he went after King's Landing? As she explores the temple, Arya encounters a masked figure. The figure seems to know who she is, and without hesitation, the stranger speaks. "Masked stranger, you seek the truth of Syrio Forel. But not all truths are meant to be found, Arya Stark. What you seek is dangerous, and it will lead you to places you may not return from." Arya, gripping Needle tightly. "I didn't come here to turn back. Tell me where he is. I know he didn't die that day. He was more than what they told me. Tell me the truth about Syrio Forel." The masked stranger takes a step forward, his voice calm, yet chilling. The truth, it seemed, was far more complicated than Arya had ever imagined. Syrio Forel, it turns out, was not just a sword master. He was a part of a much older and more secretive world than Arya had ever known. Arya's journey took her deeper into the hidden world of the Faceless Men, a world of secrets and assassins who could change their faces and identities. She was no stranger to their ways, but the deeper she delved, the more she realized that Syrio Forel was not just a teacher. He was once one of them. In a secluded location, Arya is introduced to a new form of combat that combines both Faceless Men's techniques and the lessons Syrio taught her. The masked stranger, who reveals himself as a former Faceless Man and an ally of Syrio, trains Arya in this new art of fighting with deception and stealth. Masked stranger. Syrio knew the art of the sword, but he also knew the art of illusion. The Faceless Men use this power to change the world around them, not just themselves. It is the art of perception. You must see the world not as it is, but as it could be. Arya, as she practices the moves. Why did Syrio leave Westeros? Why didn't he stay to fight when they came for me? Masked stranger. Syrio was never a man who followed the path laid before him. He understood the bigger picture. His death was not real. It was a disguise, a sacrifice to protect you. But his journey did not end in King's Landing. He went deeper into the shadow of the world, away from those who would control his fate. Each passing day, Arya grew stronger. She could feel the weight of Syrio's legacy pushing her forward. But the more she trained, the more she realized her quest wasn't just about finding Syrio. It was about understanding the man who had shaped her into who she was. The more she uncovered, the darker the truth became. Arya discovers an old scroll buried in the ruins. The scroll contains details about Syrio Forel's past, his involvement with the Faceless Men, his rise through their ranks, and his eventual disappearance. Arya learns that Syrio's death was orchestrated by the Faceless Men themselves, not as a failure, but as a necessary sacrifice. Syrio Forel had lived multiple lives. He was more than just a sword master. He was once one of the most skilled assassins in Braavos, known for taking on the identities of others and blending into the shadows. But his time with Arya was different. He saw something in her, the same potential he had once seen in himself. Part 3. Into the heart of darkness. The winds of the unknown lands howl as Arya's ship sails deeper into uncharted waters. The sun is hidden by thick clouds, and an unsettling quiet fills the air. Arya stands at the edge of the ship, gazing into the fog-covered horizon, where the mysterious island she's been heading toward slowly begins to take shape in the distance. The air feels charged, like the calm before a storm. Arya felt the weight of her quest heavy on her shoulders. She wasn't just seeking Syrio Forel anymore. She was beginning to realize that her path had led her to something much darker. An ancient, hidden world where the Faceless Men played a role far more twisted than anyone could have imagined. As Arya docks on the shores of the island, she is immediately met by a silent procession, figures dressed in dark robes, their faces covered by spherical masks. They stand still as statues, their eyes hidden but their presence ominous. Masked figure, speaking softly. "You are not meant to come here, Arya Stark. The path you seek is one of shadows and death." Arya grips Needle tighter, ready for any confrontation. She isn't afraid of shadows. She spent years in the darkness, learning from the best. Arya, narrowing her eyes. "I'm not here to ask for permission. I'm here for the truth." The masked figures part, revealing a narrow path leading into the island's dense forest. Arya steps forward, determined, but a sense of foreboding washes over her. She senses that this island is more than just a hideout for the Faceless Men. It's a place of ancient power, where secrets and old magic linger in the air like a fog. Following the masked figures, Arya is led to a crumbling temple hidden deep within the forest. The walls are lined with faded symbols, worn statues, and old writings in a language she doesn't understand. At the center of the temple is a large stone pedestal on which rests a book bound in leather. Arya, kneeling down and inspecting the book. This is it, Syrio Forel's legacy. The book contains notes, instructions, and sketches, documents detailing the journey of Syrio Forel and his mysterious connection to the Faceless Men. But there's a dark truth written between the lines. Arya's breath catches in her throat as she reads the words. Her fingers trembled as she read the truth about Syrio Forel. He had not been just a sword master. He had sacrificed himself to protect her, yes, but that sacrifice had been planned. Syrio Forel had been infiltrating the Faceless Men for years, learning their ways, and eventually becoming part of their world. His disappearance was not a death. It was a new identity. The man she had known was now lost to history. replaced by something more dangerous. As Arya processes the information, the masked figures suddenly attack. Their movements are swift, a blur of blades and shadows. Arya barely has time to react. She draws needle and faces the first figure, but she's outnumbered. The figures move with eerie precision, testing Arya's skills. Masked figure, leader. You were never meant to find this place, Stark. The truth you seek is not for you. Arya, gritting her teeth, you won't stop me. She fights back fiercely, using the Faceless Men's style against them. Arya is no stranger to fighting in the dark. Her training with Syrio Forel and the Faceless Men has made her deadly. In the midst of the chaos, Arya's movements become a blur of speed and precision, taking down her attackers one by one. But as the last figure falls, the leader steps forward, revealing his true face, the face of Syrio Forel. Arya, staring, shocked. How is this possible? You're dead, Syrio Forel, his voice cold, almost mechanical. I died the day I protected you, Arya. But my real self had to vanish. The man you knew was never meant to stay. What I became was far more than I could have ever been as a swordmaster. Arya, trembling. Why didn't you come back? Why leave me alone with that lie? Syrio Forel, his face hardening. You were never meant to carry the weight of what I became. I chose this path to protect you, but now, you are no longer the child I once knew. You are the one who will carry on my work, Arya Stark. The Faceless Men have no place for anyone with connections to the past. They never wanted you to know the truth about me. The realization hit Arya like a tidal wave. Syrio had not just vanished. He had become something else. He had chosen the Faceless Men's path, leaving behind the life he once knew in order to become something far darker. A figure lost to history, a shadow who now existed only to shape others like Arya into what they were meant to become. Part 4. The Truth Unveiled. Arya stands face to face with the man who once taught her everything she knew. But now, Syrio Forel is nothing like the kind teacher she had once loved. He is a cold, calculating figure, part of a dangerous game that has consumed him. Syrio Forel, voice colder than before. The Faceless Men have shown me the way. I have no name now, no face, and neither will you, if you are to become what I was meant to be. As Arya listens, she realizes the full scope of what Syrio became. The man she had known had disappeared in the shadows, replaced by an assassin who could change faces at will, living a life of death and secrecy. But with each word, Arya grows more conflicted. Could she follow in Syrio's footsteps, or would she choose her own path, one that would define her future beyond the shadow of the Faceless Men? Arya steps back, the weight of the decision before her heavy. She grips needle tightly, staring at Syrio. Arya, you trained me for this, but I am not you. I never wanted this life, Syrio. I have my own destiny. Syrio Forel, you are the one who chooses Arya. But remember, the Faceless Men can never let go of the past. If you walk away, you may never be able to return. Arya stood there, torn between the life she had built and the dark world Syrio offered. The Faceless Men could give her unimaginable power, but at what cost? She had already walked a dangerous path. But this was a choice that would change everything. Thank you for watching Part 1 to 4 of Arya Stark's journey after Game of Thrones. The truth about Syrio Forel and the Faceless Men is just beginning to unfold, but there's still much more to discover. If you're eager to find out what happens next, and how Arya faces the Faceless Men, be sure to check out Part 5 to 7, coming right up. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for the next episodes. We'll see you in the next part.